all just to come on it because that is from the YouTube channel. But I will say just now, obviously, yeah.
Okay, very warm welcome to the locker room. Welcome back to a new season, and you're back with the kind of skill game of the locker room. It's myself and Winston himself, Mr. Duffy, and Either, sorry. A lot of welcome back to the show for a new season. Hopefully you're well. Hopefully you're getting ready to look forward to the new season. I can't believe, Graham, it's only been like 6 weeks and we're back already. It's been a quick cross season.
Certainly has. It's great to be back. I'm on holiday for 2 weeks, so I'm buzzing, and I can't wait for the new season to start.
And Rory, it's brilliant to have you back on the show as well. But are you looking forward to the new season?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. And as a Kilmarnock fan, I actually feel like we've got a little bit of cause to be optimistic. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And to be fair, towards the top end of the table, I'm kind of hoping for a bit more of a title race this year, if I can call it that. I mean, I don't want Celtic just to run away from it this year.
Yeah, so coming up on the show tonight, as always, we're going to talk about fun and football. That's what we're here for. And hopefully at 6 o'clock, all going well, we'll be going over to Arbroath, where they take on Dundee United, and hopefully Dave will be joining us down the line for that one at the Smokies tonight. No, he won't be smoking on the show because, this is a football show, nice and healthy and all that kind of stuff. Also, we'll get the guys' predictions as well for the season, who will win the league and who will get relegated. Put your comments in the chat, who will win the league and who will get relegated. Just pop it in the chat and we'll announce it as we go along. And why not give us a wee follow on Twitter at the Locker Room Indie on Twitter as well. Okay, so I mean, the last time we were here, Graham, it was Ange Postecoglou in Celtic. Now it's all changed. Now it's Brendan Rodgers back at the helm, and some of the Celtic fans aren't too happy that he's back, i.e. the Green Big Egg. But we'll skip over that part. And we'll talk about the game tomorrow. But before we go on to the game tomorrow, obviously we've not been here for the League Cup games, but I think I've been watching a few of the League Cup games. But how has Kilmarnock been getting on rather than the League Cup?
I'd say for Kelly in the League Cup, it's been a bit of a mixed bag. We started pretty well with a fairly routine 3-0 win over Annan at Rugby Park, then beat them Dunfermline 2-0, which was a decent result. But then the last two games were a bit more kind of iffy because we drew 2-2 with Raith Rovers and then lost the penalty shootout. And then we beat Albion Rovers 2-1 away from home in the last day, which meant that we got through top of the group, but we weren't seeded. Had we won the penalty shootout against Raith Rovers, I think we would have got the seeded place, meaning we got, on paper, a bit of an easier draw, but a bit of a mixed bag for Kelly in the League Cup.
And as of Hearts, Graham, you saw them last weekend against Leeds United. Have they had a decent pre-season?
If you listen to the Hearts podcast, then no. I mean, I listened to a Hearts podcast earlier on tonight or earlier this afternoon, and I've never felt more depressed in my life. An hour of just complete negativity, which I don't really understand. Pre-season games, they've not been great, but pre-season games are all about fitness. Let's get minutes in the legs, seeing what we're going to do in the season. You know what happens in pre-season games. You not really change a team at half-time and bring another 11 on. Hearts did a lot of that. But I think there are positives to take from last week against Leeds, and there are negatives. I was really pleased to see Frankie Kent, one of the new signings that we made, a centre-back who looks really dominant in the air. Still very young, but he looks like he could be a really good player. I think Callum Nieuwenhof in midfield looks another tidy player as well. We have signed Kiyosuke Tagawa from SG Tokyo, who again looks a really good player as well. I'm excited to see him when he gets up to speed. Whether he'll play tomorrow, I don't know. He might be on the bench, but it's pace in the team. We're looking to try and sign Kenny Vargas, which is just a great name for me. He sounds like a gangster, but he could be another good signing. And again, before I came on the show earlier on, we've actually as well been linked to a move for Alex Lowry of Rangers, who will add a bit more creativity. We've got players coming back, Benny Beningame, Liam Boyce, Barry Mackay. So I think the squad is starting to look a lot better and we're in much better shape. So yeah, I'm excited. I think tomorrow's a massive, massive game. We don't have Celtic and Rangers till about October. We've got a fairly decent run of fixtures, to be honest, until that. So I'm positive that we could do all right this season. We need to be reclaiming third place again. Last season was a bit of a disaster how we kind of fell apart and Aberdeen stole it off us. But I think European games might affect Aberdeen. The fact they're going to play group stage football could have an effect on them. Hearts can take advantage of that. So I'm excited, but it all starts tomorrow. We have to get off to a positive start tomorrow against a team that I've already said I think will be relegated, St Johnstone. I might regret that after tomorrow, but I just don't think they look a very good side. They've only signed 2 players. So, yeah, I'm positive. I think we could have a really good season. And I think in terms of Kilmarnock, I was on another podcast last night, and Laurie would like to hear this. I was asked who I thought the overachievers would be this season, and I did go for Kilmarnock. I think they've signed very well in the window. I think bringing in Lewis Mail's a really good signing. Bringing Stuart Finlay's a good signing. Marley Watkins, again, a really good signing. I think Kilmarnock have signed very well. And Laurie, you must be delighted at the business you guys have done.
Yes, I'm absolutely thrilled about it because in a lot of the signings are what you would consider to be a coup or a surprise for us. Stuart Finlay, as much as he's been with us before, you would have thought maybe a top 6 club would have taken a punt, or even someone like Hearts. You would have thought if Oxford were wanting to get rid of him, would have maybe had a go. And Lewis Mail, again, great signing, did really well known last year. Plus, Kelly paid a 6-figure transfer fee for him, and Kelly are one of these clubs who don't really pay fees. And then there are other signings like Kyle McGuinness, and then former Hibs midfielder, who's a gamble, with his injury record, but again, good player. And then Robbie Dees, another decent centre half, who's done really well in the Championship with Inverness, kind of deserves to step up, and a really good age as well. I'm delighted with what we've brought in so far. All we really need is, maybe another fullback or 2 and some reinforcements at the top end of the pitch. And then we could be sorted, perhaps, for a top 6 push.
Okay, so let's kick off the new season. And as we left it last season, talking about the games, let's kick off with the 12:30 kickoff tomorrow. The champions is going to raise the flag at Parkhead. And I thought it was a nice touch because James Forrest is going to raise the flag because obviously it was his testimonial week as well. They played Bilbao and Tuesday night. And it was really a decent game, actually, and a decent turnout. I think it was over 50,000. It was there for a wet, soggy summer's night in the East End of Glasgow, so that was good. Okay, so Celtic again, Ross County 12:30 kickoff tomorrow. Celtic's been, you would say that they've been pretty busy, but pretty quiet in terms of the window so far, Glim.
Yeah, they brought in 6 players, and I think they've signed a guy defender from £5 million to, again, it's going to take time for these players to gel, like it is for Rangers as well. They brought a lot of players as well. But I do think the Celtic are still going to be very strong this season. Obviously, it's going to be between them and Rangers to win the league. I'll give them a prediction later. But I do think Celtic opening the season at home against the Ross County side, who will be looking to do a lot better than they did last season. They were so close to getting relegated. They can't have that again. They've signed a lot of players in the window as well. But I do think Celtic will be far too strong tomorrow. They've kept a lot of the core of the team. I think the biggest thing for Celtic was keeping Kyogo. They tied him up on a long-term deal. They've still got Callum McGregor there. So Celtic have got a very good side, and I said the players that have come in, it might take a bit of time to settle, but you've still got a fancy Celtic to win tomorrow very comfortably. I think if they score early, they could go and score 3 and 4. And I think as well, fair play to James Forrest. He's been a really good servant to Celtic. Good for him to get that testimonial as well. And as you mentioned, did a really good credit for it as well. A lot of these testimonial games can be quite dull and boring. Nothing really happens, nothing really exciting. But to see 5 goals, got to be happy with that. But yeah, I just think Celtic, for me, are going to be far, far too strong again this season. And I'm intrigued to see how those new players do. They've only brought in 6, but I've been intrigued to see how they're going to do.
Yeah, no. So basically, somebody's asked us in the comment about the Celtic game tomorrow, and basically, who says who will play right back and who will partner Katavikas at centre back, Laurie?
Well, with the right back, it's going to be a bit of a problem area for Celtic with Alistair Johnston missing. I mean, in terms of Celtic's summer business, did they bring any fullbacks in? I'm having a bit of a brain fart now, live on air. Brilliant. Did Celtic have to bring a fullback in, or are they going to just struggle on with somebody?
No, that's one of the areas of the park that that hopefully that they will strengthen. And in terms of like the areas of the park, Graham, I don't know if you would agree with me, but I think Celtic are looking for a right back, a left back, a striker, and a goalkeeper.
Yeah, I mean, they signed a lot of midfielders in the window. I don't want to try and pronounce this because I get it wrong, but they signed a guy called Kwon for £1 million, another guy called Hyun Yoon Yang, a midfielder for 2.5 million. They brought obviously Iwata back in. They've got Tilio and they've got the guy Odin Holm. So they signed a lot of midfielders. They've got one centre back in, Naroki, who they paid £5 million for. So I think there's no doubt the window shuts in another month or so. I'm sure that Brendan Rodgers will have identified the areas that he wants. I mean, £25 million they got for Jota, which was fantastic business. I'd expect to see a lot of that money spent going forward. I think if they get an injury to Kyogo, is really a decent option? In some games he might be, but I think they maybe want a bit more. They've got Maeda out wide. Could he play maybe further forward to the middle? So I think there are areas that Celtic will still need to strengthen. Certainly in the Scottish League, they've got more than enough to win the league again. But it's when they get to the Champions League, they're going to have to strengthen.
Yeah, that's a thing, Laurie, because from a Scottish football point of view, and you might not want this to happen when Celtic comes up against Kilmarnock, but do you feel though Celtic's got enough for domestic football and cup football, but when it goes up to European football, the likes of the Champions League, it's like another, you would say, 2 levels up?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say, Michael. I mean, whenever you watch them against the domestic competition, 9 out of 10 they blow them away. Like the twice that they went to Roker Park last season, they were outstanding in both games. You just got to sit there and applaud sometimes what Celtic do, but obviously sometimes you watch them in the Champions League and they just seem to kind of buckle under the pressure, albeit last year they had a difficult group with the likes of Real Madrid in there. But I mean, the Celtic team, at least the Celtic team of last year, we'll see how this year goes under Rodgers. But last year they were just too good for the Premiership. But just as you say, not quite ready for the Champions League. Almost that the Champions League was 2 levels above as opposed to being, I suppose, 1. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously Rangers has got to go through 2 qualifying rounds in the Champions League, and I think they play next Wednesday it'll be either Wednesday, Tuesday or Wednesday. I think the first game, the Ibrox, we'll come on to that.
The Swiss team, isn't it?
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. So Brendan Rodgers held his media conference yesterday, looking ahead to the game. This is what he said. He said, "I'm looking forward to the flag day. It's always special, but after that, you need to focus on defending the title and winning the title because." It's two different things, Graham, defending the title, but also you want to win as well. We're looking to improve the squad over a period of time. That's maybe bad news to you and Laurie as well. He basically paid tribute to Malcolm Mackay. He said Malcolm Mackay is a great guy, he's a great coach. He's did well in his career so far, but it will be a very difficult game. On to the captain then, Callum McGregor. Callum McGregor says we've had a good season last season, but now that's out the way, we need to focus on this season under the new manager. So basically, I was going to say it's a fresh start for everyone, Graham, apart from Callum McGregor, because obviously Rodgers has. He's worked under Rodgers before.
Yeah, and good to see our friend Gordon McIntosh watching. He said, looking forward to the new season. Yeah, hopefully will be a good season as well. But yeah, I mean, I think there was a lot of, as you mentioned at the start of the show, there was a lot of talk about when Brendan Rodgers came back. A lot of Celtic fans weren't happy. But let's be honest, of all the managers you probably wanted, he was probably the best option out there. He knows the Scottish game. He's won the leagues already. He's won the cups already. So he's probably the best manager they could have got. And I think it will be a kind of fresh start for some of these guys. But I mentioned him earlier, Callum McGregor has been an absolute stalwart for Celtic and for Scotland. He'll be a massive player again. And I think there are other players in that Celtic team that will flourish under Rodgers. I think Matt O'Reilly could be one of them. If O'Reilly gets game time, he's a really, really good footballer. So I think there'll be a lot of Celtic players that are looking to probably step up a bit this season. And again, I keep talking about the fact that you've kept Kyogo. I imagine he'll be top scorer again this season. His movement is just incredible. He just never stops. I can see him scoring another barrel load this season. But it'll be interesting to see how tight this league might be this season with them and Rangers, because I do think Rangers have signed well. I think it'll be a lot closer this season. It might even go down to the last couple of games. But I just think that Brendan Rodgers has a winning mentality. Maybe not at Leicester, but I think he's got a winning mentality. And I just think this title race could be very, very close this season.
Laurie, does it help as well that obviously Graham recognised the point there, but does it help Celtic fans be positive and all that going into the new season because Brendan Rodgers has been here? Okay, he's been absent for about 3 or 4 seasons now, but he knows the Scottish game kind of inside out.
Yeah, it can only help that he's got the kind of prior knowledge of the game up here, and the teams, albeit of course Brendan will need to win some of the Celtic fans back over again, but I think him having the previous experience of being up here definitely will help, because fans don't often take too kindly to a left field appointment. I mean, just look at the reaction that happened when Ange Postecoglou was appointed. People thought it was a joke at first, and I'm sure Postecoglou was on record saying the same. So, would you rather a manager had to go through that sort of experience again, or would you rather Celtic, as they've done, has brought in a pretty safe pair of hands who, as Graham says, has winning mentality and experience to all success up here?
As of Ross County, Graham, I mean, no matter when they go to Celtic Park at Ibrox, you don't really give them a chance when you go to one of the big two in Glasgow. But, first game of the season, could be teething problems in that Celtic team. I very much doubt it. But do you expect Ross County to go up there, go there the way that they set up before? Kind of like 10 men behind the ball and just hit Celtic in the counter-attack, and maybe like the best possible way that County will get a breakthrough is by free kicks and corner kicks, set pieces.
I kind of think your first game being at Celtic Park, it's a free hit. It's only the first. You're not going to be judged on your first game of the season. And I think the fact you're at Celtic Park, if I'm Ross County, I'm having a go tomorrow. Why not? It's one game. You're going to get beat anyway. Just have a go. They have signed a lot of players in the summer. I think James Brown, the defender, could be a decent signing. Jay Henderson, midfield. And I think the biggest one for me is Eamon Brophy. If they can keep him fit, he'll be a really good signing for County. He was really good last season when he was fit. So I think County can have a better season this season. I don't think they'll be in relegation trouble again. But I think your first game, it's a free hit. Go to Celtic Park, have a go. And you never know. You talked about teething problems. I don't really see Celtic having many problems tomorrow. But if I'm a County fan, I would rather my team went and had a go. And first game of the season, you're not going to be judged on it. So just go out and have a bit of a go.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, you mentioned about Eamon Brophy there, Graham. There's one man who knows about Eamon Brophy inside out by watching him for Kilmarnock. Is our man Laurie.
Yeah, so I mean, Eamon Brophy, when he was at Kelly again, was a good player, really good striker for us in the kind of Steve Clarke era as we got into Europe. But as Graham alluded to, the problem with Brophy is his injury record, because he left Kelly, went to St Mirren, barely played. I don't think he scored a league goal for St Mirren, but it was just a lot of niggling injuries and whatever. But when he's fit, he is a good striker. I wouldn't say he's a brilliant striker. Like, Brophy is one of these forwards, and some people like this, some people don't, who's very much kind of selfish, kind of has a bit of a shoot on sight policy. But then when, like, in the case of tomorrow, where Ross County are at Celtic Park, with, as we said, a bit of a free hit, it's maybe not a bad thing to have a striker who's not afraid to shoot.
Yeah, no, exactly. What in terms of we're going to speak about the projections. I mean, in a wee bit of the show, but what do you expect from Ross County this season, Graham? Obviously, there'll be a skill on the high after staying up, and that was some game actually against Packet Thistle. Feel a bit sorry for Packet Thistle, because I think we'd done the show after the first game, and I think they could have won that game 3 or 4, Packet Thistle, but as you know, it's all about goals, and Ross County done that.
Yeah, but we're going to be joined later on by Ross, the Ross County fan, and he'll probably tell you this as well, but they were 20 minutes away from going down, and they've managed to save themselves. And I think if you're a Ross County player, and if you're Malky Mackay, you cannot be in that position again, and that's why they strengthened, and they strengthened early. I think Ross County will be fine this season. I don't think they'll be anywhere near top 6, but I don't think they'll be relegation again. I think they'll probably be about 8th or 9th. I think they'll be around that area. I think there's other worse teams than them for me. St Johnstone, Livingston, for example. So I think they'll be fine. But, they've got, again, like most teams this season, a lot of teams have signed a lot of players, and it's going to take time for these players to gel. They've got to start getting into the system. They've got to really, Ross County are not a massive, massive club. They don't have a particularly great fan base, but I think they are a really good club. They're a family-run club. And I think if they can finish about 8th or 9th, I think they probably take that. What they don't want is to be in a position where they're in relegation trouble again, and to be so close to going down like they were last season. That can't happen again, and I don't think it will.
Yeah, no, exactly. Do you think that Ross County will have a wake-up call basically from last season, Laurie, and they don't want to be in that position again?
Yeah, I think the playoff, or if you're the team who wins the playoff, this is just a general rule of thumb. that should be a wake-up call. That should be a warning. It's great to win it, and you've got to celebrate that moment. And my word, was that a good game against Partick Thistle to secure survival? But it's a wake-up call. It's a warning. Ross County know that they don't want to be in the Championship, and if you're a Ross County fan, I'm sure you're more than happy to leave Inverness down there. You don't want to be joining them, do you? But yeah, it's absolutely a wake-up call, and Malcolm Mackay, to his credit, has got the guys in who he's wanted. The likes of Jay Henderson, for instance, who he's had to pay decent money to get, but as you said, got them in early, got them gelling, and got them playing pretty well in the League Cup. So it's looking not too bad for the Staggies.
Going back to Celtic, Graham, our pal Gordon has put a comment in, and that's what I was saying earlier on about. Obviously, some Celtic fans would be a bit disappointed how they haven't splashed the cash, because let's face it, Celtic has got millions of money. So would you be disappointed if you were a Celtic fan because they haven't paid a lot of money? Still early,
Well, I mean,
the window.
Yeah, I mean, they signed that Naroki guy, the centre back, for £5 million, so they have spent money, but they maybe need other areas strengthened. I think the guy earlier on mentioned a right back and maybe another forward as well. There's still about a month left of the window. I think they will still strengthen in a couple of areas, but it's about getting the right player in. And I'm sure that Brendan Rodgers knows the type of player he wants. And I've heard Brendan Rodgers numerous times at Celtic, at Leicester, at Liverpool. He always talks about having the right character. And I think that's what he's probably looking for, bringing the right player, but bringing the right character in. And I think Celtic have got such a very good squad there that you don't want to disrupt that with kind of bad influences. But I think Celtic will splash the cash. There's no doubt about that. I mean, you look at what Rangers have done. They've signed a lot of players. I think Danilo for like $6.5 million. Celtic haven't gone to that level yet, but the money's there. And there was something I saw yesterday, I think, and I can't remember where I saw it, but somebody posted a link about the fact that it's been, 40 odd years since anyone out with the old firm won the league. And could it ever happen again? Well, no, it can't. The fact that Rangers have paid $6.5 million for Danilo, Celtic have paid $5 million for a defender. Other teams in Scotland can't do that. And my worry is that it's just going to get worse and worse. They're just going to stretch ahead and get even bigger and even better. What was it? 40 odd points last season between third and second. That's my worry. You know, I keep talking about the fact that Scottish football at times gets talked about as a tin pot league. If you look at the league, if you're from England or wherever, you look at the league and think, oh, the second team is about 50 odd points ahead of the third team. That's not good. And it is a worry for me that it's just going to get worse.
Yeah, no, exactly. There you go. We might have a locker room show next year on the way to Saudi, Laurie, because it feels as though that everybody's going to Saudi at the moment. And I was listening to Michael Beale today, and he was saying that Faisal Sakala is speaking to a club over there at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Sakala was someone who I thought was acting a pretty good season, kind of was almost under the radar to start with, but then he frustrates Rangers fans with his lack of any product at times, but I probably look at it as someone who's not an Old Firm supporter. Like, you know, probably most teams outside the Old Firm would bite your hand off at him, but they're frustrated at their big money signings. But as Graham was saying, they can just bin him off to Saudi, he'll get all the money in the world, and then Rangers would just reinvest that money into splashing the cash for another forward, cash that non-Old Firm clubs can only dream of.
Obviously, this is another conversation for another show, Graham, because I know you've got if you're a known kind of Celtic and Rangers fan, about the money and all that kind of thing. But like over the summer, I was thinking because players are getting signed up from teams from Saudi and all that, you don't have to be a brilliant football player. Yeah, you're just going over there for money. So do you think that the money part of it is kind of like spoiling the game now?
100%. I mean, I think if you get offered mega money in Saudi Arabia, you're probably going to go. But let's be honest, you're going there to retire. I mean, Jota's very young, but he's going there to retire. He's not going there to further his career. There's no chance you're going to Saudi Arabia to further your career. I mean, let's be honest. If I get an offer from Saudi Arabia, now I'm leaving this show. Tell you that right now. But no, I mean, I think it's a good point you make though, because if you think about it, the Saudi transfer market doesn't shut for another couple of months. The Scottish window and other windows will be shut. There's every chance that a Saudi club might come in for someone in Scotland and take them, and there's nothing to do about it because the window will be shut. So it is a worry for me. You've also got Steven Gerrard that's in Saudi Arabia now. He might come in for a couple of Rangers players, maybe a couple of Celtic players or whatever, and there's nothing you can do about it because the money's just far too much, and it is a massive, massive issue. I mean, I don't think there's any chance that Hearts are going to lose anyone to Saudi Arabia. Maybe Shankland, but that's about it. But it is a worry for me. I think the power that these Saudi guys have got, it's a huge worry. People will say, oh, but England have done that for years. This is different. The money you're getting to Saudi Arabia now is unbelievable. And if anyone gets a chance to go there, they're going to go.
And I'll put on a bet on the show. Laurie, I'm not a betting man, but I swear that you'll see a Saudi team in the Champions League within 2 seasons. And in the first season, a Saudi team will win the Champions League because money gets cooked to the top. But anyway, that's my bold prediction. I might be horribly wrong there and saying that, Laurie.
I don't think you are.
No, I was going to say, Graham, I don't think Michael is going to be horribly wrong there. I mean, I hope he is. Let that be made clear. But I don't think you are. I mean, they'll buy their way into a UEFA competition before too long. The same way they bought their way to a lot of players. I mean, and the point you make about Steven Gerrard potentially bringing in old firm players, he's already brought in 2 former Celtic players, if I'm not mistaken, and Jack Hendry and Moussa Dembele. So it's happening already.
Okay, let's go back to the big leagues now, the SPFL, the Scottish Premiership. Leave that Saudi League to make money on Raw. Who makes money? We've got millions of money in the Scottish game. Ha ha ha. Yeah. So what are we saying? Like it would be a comfortable win for Celtic tomorrow, Graham, or?
Yeah, I think so. But as I said, there's no pressure on County. First game of the season, nobody really wants to go to Celtic Park for the first game. But the thing is, you're probably just as well getting Celtic out the way early on, that you don't have to play them for a while. So it might not be a bad thing for County. But I just think the fact it's Flag Day, Brendan Rodgers' first game back at home again in the league, I just think Celtic will be pumped to win this. And I think it'll be about, I'm going to say Celtic 4, Ross County 0.
Oh, 4-0. Laurie, what about you?
All right, I kind of agree generally with Graham. I'll say 3-0 Celtic, but I'll say 3-0.
3-0 Celtic. There you go. So Celtic Ross County tomorrow 12:30 live on Sky Sports, and I think it'll be a debut for Mr. Sutton in the studio as well. So there you go for that one.
Wait till he gets some Saudi money. He'll be off.
Yeah, no, I'm just waiting for Chris Boyd against Chris Sutton. I think that will be box office. But anyway, Chris Boyd won't be at the Celtic game tomorrow. He'll be at the Kilmarnock game. I don't know what team he would like to win that game, but Kilmarnock against Rangers at 5:15. Obviously, you're better placed than me and Graham to talk about Kerry this season and the deals you've done or you've not done this season. Are you happy yet?
Yeah, I'd say I'm quite happy with what we've done so far. You know, in the summer, of course, there's still time, and Derek McInnes keeps mentioning that he's desperate to get another striker and probably to help out Kyle Vassell, because Vassell's a good striker and all that, but he is injury prone. However, the business we've done is good, and it's kind of been the envy of a lot of the fellow box sets clubs, because I think they can see that we're trying to push beyond where we were last season. We don't want to be anywhere near the relegation picture, and our board have actually came out and said that they want us to be between 5th and 7th within the next 2 seasons. So we're trying for top 6. And in terms of tomorrow, it's going to be difficult, but a bit like Ross County will be as at home for us. It gets Rangers out of the way early on, so let's bring them on, play them now. Home crowd, probably near enough 5,000 seats to hold it behind us, so we're in a good place to do it. And I think the players should be going into this one fairly confident.
Do you think it helps Kilmarnock when they're not given the big two scans basically behind the goal? They're cutting the casing down to 1 scan. Do you think that will help the team on the park to get the fans behind them instead of sending the 2 scans to in this case Rangers tomorrow?
Yes, absolutely. I think it does help us quite a lot, because if you have the Moffat and Chadwick stands with Old Firm fans in, that's just over 8,000 of them. So, I mean, it ended up basically becoming a home game for Rangers or Celtic. So I think it does help having Killie fans in 3 of the 4 stands, yeah.
And you were watching the Kilmarnock press conference today. I think we can see a bit of Derek McInnes now, and this is via the Kilmarnock the Kilmarnock YouTube channel. So here's what Derek said about tomorrow night's game against Rangers.
Here last season, we feel that when Liam at his best, he's got so much to offer us. I think he's a talented midfielder. Really keen to have someone in that role in the team. He is that bit more kind of plays more connected to the back lot and has that defensive edge. It's took a wee bit longer to get Liam than I'd liked to have got him in, but selfishly as football managers and clubs, you always want to get the players in here and now. Players have got a lot to consider, family situations, and not everybody knows about each and everybody's family circumstances. So he thought long and hard. What he had said to me 6 weeks ago, that if he was coming back to Scotland or staying in Scotland, he would be signing for us. We had agreed a deal a while ago, but he had a lot to consider with his family. So, and even up until this week, even a few days ago, there was a club in Scotland offering far more money to sign, and he's good by his word. He was coming to sign for us. So really pleased that we've managed to get him. The disappointing aspect of it is he's way behind everybody else, so there's that. But we signed players for the season, not just for the first part of the season, and he's a player who I think can get better, and if we can get him on the pitch more and he stays injury free, he's definitely an asset for us. So really pleased that we've managed to secure him. I think time will tell. I think you sign players, there's no guarantees with anything, but I think for me we have made some good signings. I feel maybe get a bit more experience some of the signings. We let a lot of players go to free up the space, to give us the scope to try and rebuild the squad. All the loan players go back. We bring Lewis Mayo back as a permanent signing, which is good. And we're trying to reduce the amount of loans that we've got compared to last season. So that would be an indication that we've done the work, and we've tried to give out players contracts and become Kilmarnock players in its entirety. So we feel we've got a good level of player in the building. The proof will be judged at the end of the season if we've been better. I feel we've now got a squad and slowly building towards a squad who can maybe meet the demand for this season. The demand was met last season with the squad we had, and now the demand shifts. We're looking for a bit more from everybody, and hopefully we can meet the demand that's on us this season. But we've still got a bit to do. We'd still like forward areas to be dealt with a bit, and we're still trying to get at least one in between now and the window closing. But if we can get a few of our senior players back who have been out, like Joe Wright, Kyle Vassell and Rory McKenzie, then the squad looks, I think, significantly stronger. But as I say, time will tell with that. There's certain players more than ready. I think the League Cup games, the benefits of the League Cup is the fact you're playing competitive football, even though it comes too early for my liking. But we probably get the benefit of that getting into these games where other clubs, the clubs compete in Europe, other than Hibs, have only played friendlies. So it's maybe a slight advantage we have of playing competitive football. And we've got a lot of players who are up to speed and ready. They've done the minutes, done the yards. And there's a few others who are still playing catch up as it is at this stage of the season. And we'd like 2 or 3 to be further on with their work because of the couple of injuries, a couple of names I've mentioned. But the fact that they're in and about things this week, like Donnelly and Vassell and Mackenzie and hopefully Joe Wright, the fact that they could be available for the weekend is a huge boost for us all. There's no negative about playing Rangers. I think it's a great opening fixture for us. It's a tough game, clearly, and we've found Rangers tough last season. We lost the game here 3-2 and there were moments in the game, but when Rangers were good and had a really good 25-minute spell, they punished us. So we beat every team in the SPFL last season except Rangers and Celtic, so we know what we're capable of, but we've also got to try and demonstrate our capability of getting results against the best 2 teams, and it's important that we have the confidence, the assurance and the personality on Saturday to try and do exactly that. So it's an itch we need to scratch. We need to try and overcome that, and the fact that we never took points off Rangers and Celtic last season, hopefully we can. Well, we expect a tough game Saturday. It's important that Rangers get that as well. I think Michael's similar to myself. He's obviously managed to sign a lot of players, and even this week try to familiarise myself with a lot of the new signings, myself and the staff. We've got plenty of footage to watch, but there's obviously a lot of players that we're not aware of really. Well, we are now, but the last couple of days we've been getting to grips with that. I think looking at them, they've obviously they've got a lot more forward options. I think there's more physicality about Rangers this season. I think last season, maybe losing Bassey and Aribo and the like, maybe that was something that we're looking for, but I certainly think the signings that they've made this season, they've not only good players, but they're all of a certain type and able to deal with the rigours, I think, of Scottish football. So I think time will tell. It's like everything. I'm trying to integrate my players. I'm sure Michael's the same. There's a lot of new signings. You're looking for those relationships, that cohesion, that kind of building a confidence. I'm still finding out about my players, and they're finding out a bit about us. And a lot of players not playing Scottish football before, so we're just mindful of trying to concentrate on our level of performance, because we know that our level of performance has to be strong on Saturday to get something for the game. It's not the draw we wanted, but it's the job we've been given, and we'll try and make the most of it. I find the whole thing strange, to be honest. The seeding, you win your group and you're up against a seed. I don't know if there's any kind of clear way. If you win a group, I think you should be either a seed, and if you can't satisfy everybody who wins their group, then don't have any seeds. Just put everybody in a hat. I mean, we played 2 championship clubs, and yet there's other Premier League teams, without naming them. I think there was only one or two, and there was no championship clubs in Ross County's or Motherwell's group. I don't think Ross County and Livingston's group. So I don't even know how they come to the conclusion of doing that draw, whether it's fair, whether it's championship, X amount of championship clubs, X amount of, but we still won the group and we've been given a tough draw. So I don't know how they do it, but you'd like to think if you win your group and there's seeds being given, then you would be one of your seeds. But so be it. We've got Celtic and we'll try and deal with it when it comes round. And it's a good game, a tough start. Rangers, Hearts, and Celtic. So we embrace the challenge, and it's like cup football. You never know, and let's face it, our best chance of beating Celtic. We've played them at Celtic Park in cups, and we've played them at Hampden last season. Our best chance of beating them, you would think, would be at home. So we're grateful for the home draw. It's not always the case, but I think there's a kind of general feeling from everyone that if Rangers, Celtic, Hearts, Hibs, and Aberdeen out, barring a disastrous campaign from any of these clubs, you would think that they would be in the top 6, and they should be. With the difference in finances. And it's not always been the case, but you would maybe at the outset think there's one place up for grabs if these clubs are doing their jobs right. St Mirren managed to do it last season deservedly, and I don't think there was much between us and St Mirren, but the league table told differently. And when it comes to the split, we've got to make sure, hopefully, that on the run into those split, we're in the chance of getting into that top 6. That's all we're looking for, really. And I think history shows that the difference between 10 and 6 for the last few while, there's no many points in it. It's just making sure you do your job well enough to get in. And sometimes it can be the difference maker, can be having those goals, extra goals at the top end of the pitch. It's something we're conscious of, trying to get more firepower into the team. And and hopefully, as I say, we can set about the task of trying to be that this season. And there's nothing wrong with aiming. Equally, there's nothing wrong with falling short of that. What we want to make sure is we're trying to make sure no going to the dying embers of the season still fighting for Premier League status. So we would like to try and do that with a wee bit more comfort this time. Well, it's the same, 1 point for a draw, 3 points for a win, but I think in terms of confidence wise it can do a team no harm at all. We felt that we managed to kind of win the fight really with teams round about us, which was the difference, in particular our home form was the difference really in us keeping in the Premier League. But there's no doubt, and what you say is right, if you can go and land a blow on Rangers and Celtic at any point in the season, you can get a lot of benefit for that. But equally, it's you've got to do a lot of things right in the game to do that, and it's a test for us this season and other clubs to try and bridge that gap over a 90 minute. You're never going to bridge the gap financially; it's impossible. But you can hopefully bridge the gap over a 90-minute game.
There we go. That was Derek McInnes there. Via Kilmarnock TV. Larry, I just wanted to speak to you about, before we go on to tomorrow's game, I wanted to speak to you about what McInnes was talking about, the League Cup games. Do you think that they come too early in the season?
Well, possibly they do. I mean, I've never totally decided on what I think of the League Cup format, because it's good because it eliminates the kind of so-called pointless friendlies, but it does come a little bit early because it means teams have to sometimes kind of rush their recruitment. I mean, Kelly appears to have recruited fairly well despite the League Cup schedule, but it makes teams bring in players a lot earlier than they perhaps would. It makes teams come back for pre-season a lot earlier. Like, it goes back to, well, pre-season is getting shorter and shorter every year, but I don't like the new format myself, and I'm kind of aligned with Derek on that, but I can also see the merits of it.
And as for tomorrow night's game, Laurie, you're going along to the game. I'm not going to ask you what side you're sitting in. I think we can see it tonight. What are you expecting from Kilmarnock, not only this season, but tomorrow night?
Well, as for tomorrow, I'm just hoping that we actually do try and take the game to Rangers, and by the sounds of what Derek McInnes had to say, it sounds like we're hopefully not going to, fear Rangers. I mean, as he rightfully pointed out, we beat every team in the league apart from the Old Firm last year, and our home record was pretty solid. Let's say our away record's better, but tomorrow I think we'll do pretty well. Maybe I could be optimistic and they might draw the game or something, but as long as we 100% play well, and hopefully the new Rangers signings haven't had enough time to gel yet.
Laurie, sorry, Michael, just got Laurie a question or something that McInnes said there, which I agree with him on. He talked about the fact that obviously Kilmarnock weren't seeded, despite the fact they won their group. I agree with him. I think that's an absolute farce.
Yeah. Same here, Graham. I totally agree. As Sparks said earlier on in the show, if Kelly had won the penalty shootout against Raith Rovers, well, let's not get into whether we have penalty shootouts or bonus points in the League Cup. If Kelly had won that penalty shootout, we'd have been seeded. So, yeah, but it is. We're top of the group. That should at least get you automatic seeding. And if Derek said if we can't do seeding, just have a straight draw. No one would complain.
Yeah, exactly. So Michael disappeared for 2 minutes. God knows where he is, probably washing his hair. So I'll take over and I will ask Laurie a question that's been asked here by Paul Donaldson in the chat. I think Marley Watkins and Matty Kennedy should be decent signings for Kilmarnock. Sorry to see them both leaving Aberdeen. What's your thoughts on that, Laura? Are you happy to see Matty Kennedy and Marley Watkins, two very good Premier League players? You happy to see that?
Yeah, I'm very happy to see that. And again, thank you to Paul for the question, and keep sending your questions in, folks. But on to the question itself, Matty Kennedy has really kind of stood out. So if I was to pick a player who's kind of stood out in the League Cup games, I would say it's Matty Kennedy. Hopefully, it's not too long before he gets his first goal back in Kilmarnock colours. Of course, Kennedy was a player who started his career at Killeen and got the big move to Everton. Didn't really work out, but now he's back home, as it were. And as for Watkins, when he first signed, there was a bit of a mixed reaction because we're all like 32-year-old forwards player with not a great goal record, but when you actually watch him, he's an excellent, technical player, very kind of smart, and you can see the experience shining through. He's not really signed to be a centre forward. He's more of a wide player. I think a lot of us Kelly fans got a little bit underwhelmed by it at first because we saw him as more of a centre forward, but Watkins should be feeling confident enough for it because he's already got a goal under his belt as well. He scored the second goal against Albion Rovers, so they've both been pretty solid signings. And you're not the only Aberdeen fan to be gutted they're leaving. I know that. We've got the left.
And as for Rangers, Graham, obviously they've had a full pre-season, and I think they played the majority of the games at Ibrox for the season. I think they went away to, was it Germany last weekend, and got 2 each against that lower league team. What are you expecting Rangers to do this season overall? Obviously, they think about, was it 6 or 7 players. Do you think that it'll take time for them to gel into the team and the way Michael Beale wants to play the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think they brought in 9 players. I think they signed Cifuentes as well yesterday. And I think probably the biggest thing for me is what minute they get their penalty tomorrow. If it's anything like the Todd Cantwell dive during pre-season, then they'll get plenty this season. Tavernier will be up there for top scorer. But yeah, I mean, I think it will take time for. I hope there's no Rangers fans watching this. I'm going to get battered. But no, I think there will be probably. It will take time for them to settle in. I think the biggest one that they're looking for is Danilo. $6.5 million looks a really good player. I think Todd Cantwell is a very good player for them as well. He could be a really good signing for them. But it will take time, But the thing is, when you're in Glasgow, second's no good. You've got to win the league.
Second's
I just think that. Yeah, exactly. I just think Celtic, for me, still have far too much in the tank to win this league. Again, I think it will be tight. I think it might be closer. But I just think that Michael Beale is going to be under a lot of pressure. For example, say tomorrow, first game of the season, Celtic beat Ross County, which I think they will. If Rangers drop points tomorrow in the first game, straight away you're under massive pressure. They can't afford to drop a lot of points this season because I don't think Celtic will. So it's going to be interesting to see how Rangers do, how the new signings start. But tomorrow's a massive test. Going to Kilmarnock, who I've said earlier on, I think are going to have a good season this season. It's going to be tough. Very, very tough.
So what are you expecting for the first game? Obviously, it's going to be a very tough game, Graham. Away to Kilmarnock at 5:30 on the TV. But what are you expecting from the game?
I'm expecting Kilmarnock to put up a really good fight. I'm expecting it to be very difficult to beat. I think at home they'll be a really tough nut to crack. I think Rangers might just sneak it 2-1, but I think it'll be very, very close.
It would be a very, very remiss of me not to ask about Leonard Kelly fan on the show. A score prediction tomorrow, and I think I know what he's going to say, Graham, but I might be wrong. There you go, Rory. The floor's yours.
Okay, so I'll be somewhat sensible. I mean, it might still be my heart overruling my head here, but I'll say 1-1 draw because I think we'll score. But as you've said already, Rangers are going to get a penalty. Todd Cantwell or someone may well dive. I mean, and they'll get the penalty probably after a VAR check. So I'll say 1 each, but that might be heart overruling my head. But I could have said Killian to win, and I also hope we do. But Rangers are still going to be decent, and I'm interested to see some of these new players. I mean, Danilo, if memory serves me right, seems to have a decent scoring record in the Dutch league, but we'll see how he goes.
Okay, there you go. You fair get here fast. And if Rangers get a penalty in the last minute, I'm expecting lots of comments on the show on Sunday. But there you go. Stranger things could happen. Okay, let's move on. The 3:00 game tomorrow is the newly promoted Dundee against Motherwell. Graham, this is going to be a very interesting game. Now, I said to you before we came on air today, obviously we're going to do the predictions shortly, but I think Dundee will be in a relegation battle this season because I just feel as though that they've signed a lot of kind of loan players this season. And you never know, they might gel together or they might not gel at all. What's your take, Graham?
Yeah, it could work either way. They've signed 11 players, pretty much a whole new team. But I'm really impressed with the signing of Scott Tiffany. You know, Scott Tiffany was brilliant at Partick Thistle last season. He could be a really good signing. Owen Beck could have brought him from Liverpool, who's a defender. Again, could be a really good signing. But like I said earlier, it's how these players are going to gel, how they're going to settle in. I think Dundee could have an up and down season. I don't think they'll be relegated. I've said earlier on, I think it's between Livingston and St Johnstone. I think Dundee might be in and around maybe 9th or 10th, but I think they'll be okay. But I think they could be all right. But the fact they've got the first game at home, I think when a new promoted side, you want to win your first game early. And having this game at home against a Motherwell side, so you don't really know what to expect, especially because the fact they've lost Kevin Van Veen, who was their main player last season, and they've not really replaced him. They brought in, I think, 5 players. I think Obika is a decent striker. Is it going to score the goals that Van Veen did? Probably not. They sent Connor Wilkinson, another striker. Again, it's going to be very hard to replace Van Veen. So it could be interesting. But do you know what? I actually think because they're at home and it's the first game of the season, the fans will be up for it. I've got a sneaky feeling Dundee might just sneak this tomorrow.
Laurie, I was listening to Stuart Kettlewell. He'd done this press conference today, and he says that they're looking forward to the new season. We have a good group. We have a good team. We have a good squad, but we need to use the positive of last season as of we did well. And that's the thing, because like soon as he said that, I thought, well, do you think that they'll use that as a kind of stepping stone to build on? Because I think I said this on the show last season. I think if Kettlewell came in, Motherwell would have finished in the bottom in the top 6.
Yeah, well, they've got to at least try and use it as a stepping stone. Of course, it may well be harder with the guys that have lost. Kevin Van Veen or even Max Johnston more recently. I think did he not go somewhere abroad? But yeah, I think Motherwell will have to use last season or the kind of last quarter of last season as a bit of a stepping stone. Because if it wasn't for Stuart Kettlewell, they would have been kind of down in that relegation battle. But they just need to try and pick up from where they left off. Whether they can do it or not, time will tell.
And also the come out number 2 to Derek McInnes has a way to Dundee. Is that a bit of are they taking a gamble there? And do you think, Laurie, because this is if I'm aware, this is his first job as a manager?
Yep, that's right, Michael. So it does seem to be, looking from the outside then, does seem to be a bit of a gamble, yeah, because Tony Docherty has pretty much spent his, not quite entire coaching career, but not too far off it, by Derek McInnes' side, whether that be at St Johnstone, at Aberdeen, at Kilmarnock, and probably even at Bristol City as well. So it does seem a real gamble in it. And the move for Tony Docherty to become the manager kind of came out of nowhere in the summer. And good luck to him, but it's going to be a tough job to start with for him, with newly promoted Dundee. And of course, as you say, let him have a good chance tomorrow with it being at home, as they'll be unfurling the championship flag. So it's not just flag day for Celtic, it's flag day for Dundee as well.
And that's because I pity Glenn, because the two Dundee teams went in opposite directions. Of course, Dundee United went down and Dundee came up, but I was looking forward to a Dundee derby this season, but I think the only way that we're going to see that is in the cup competitions.
Yeah, and I think Dundee fans have been gutted on not playing United because they look a very poor side. I'm sure we'll get to that shortly. But yeah, I mean, fair play to Dundee. They deserve to come up. They were the best team in the Championship last season. And it's always interesting to see how our newly promoted team does. You know, can they? The one thing is, can they stay up? I think Dundee can. I do think they can stay up. It's going to be tough, but I do think they can stay up. But I think for me, the home form is going to be crucial. You know, Dens Park is a tough place for any team to go. So that could be a crucial thing. They've got to try and win most of the home games and try and pick up points on the road if they can. But I just think the home form is going to be huge. And as I say, they send a lot of players. How they gel is going to be interesting. But I think they'll be okay. But yeah, it would have been great to see like a Glasgow derby, an Edinburgh derby, a Dundee derby. But we're not going to get that this season, though.
No, exactly. Yeah, I mean, what are you expecting from Dundee this season? Obviously, they've got the manager in place. As I said, they signed a few loan players. I think it's 5 or 6 players actually. What are you hoping for them to finish in the middle of the table or top 6? Rory, would that be a big ask?
Yeah, I think top 6 might be a bridge too far. I could be wrong, and who knows? Dundee might be dark horses this season. I think top 6 might be a bridge too far. But some of our signings do look to be a little bit left field, because you've got some of the loan signings, you know, the likes of Owen Beck, and then good permanent signings, Scott Tiffany, as you mentioned. But they've signed a couple of guys from Mexico and stuff, but it's not something that you often see in the SPFL these days, you know, foreign imports coming in. So we're going to have a little bit of the unknown quantity kicking in. And I'm sure last week in one of the League Cup games, the Dundee TV commentator actually tried a bit of Spanish in their commentary. I've seen it on social media, or I was going to say Twitter, but we're not supposed to call it that anymore, are we?
X.
Don't get mixed
It's got the X factor.
I suppose it does. That's one way of remembering it, Graham.
What's that? Yeah. What did you say, Graham?
It's got the X factor.
Yeah.
Dundee have the X factor this season.
Don't get exactly. Don't get mixed up with something else that rhymes with X. But anyway, that's just me for you. Back on the game tomorrow, Dundee against Motherwell at Dens Park. As for Motherwell this season, Glenn, do you think they'll do well?
It's hard to tell, because I think losing Van Veen's such a massive thing for them, and they've not replaced him. I mentioned the fact they have a couple of strikers in, but it's very hard to replace the goals that Van Veen scored and what he brought to that team. I think they'll be okay. I don't think they'll be top 6. I don't think they'll be good enough for top 6. But again, Motherwell, it's hard to say what they're going to do this season. You know, what is Motherwell's ceiling? Is it top 6? Is it avoiding relegation? It's hard to tell. But I think if they can get the 2 strikers they've got in, Wilkinson and Obika, scoring goals, they'll give themselves a chance. But I'm pretty sure that Kettlewell will be looking to try and bring another couple of strikers in, because I don't think they've got enough. I think defensively they look okay. Midfield, maybe another couple of signs in there. But I think I said they're on the window shuts. I think it's the 1st of September, so there's still time. But I'm pretty sure they'll be looking to add more players. But I think, actually, where's my league table? Because I did a thing yesterday, and I had Motherwell 8th this season. So I think they'll be all right, but I don't think they'll be any higher than that.
Laurie, what about you? What about you in terms of Murrow? Have you got them a bit higher or a bit lower? I feel like Bruce for 5 here.
I'd say we're not doing we're not doing high low. I can't think of a game show now. That's an age thing, but I know what you're talking about. But however, Motherwell under the Steelman, I've not done my full league prediction yet. I'll do that. I'll be doing that later on tonight. Actually, however, I've got a few in mind. But I would probably have Motherwell kind of a bit like Graham in that kind of mid-table obscurity. Then probably not going to be in relegation trouble, but not really troubling the top end of the table. Honestly, I'm probably talking, 8th or 9th. Just kind of they're there, not doing anything too significant. However, they are one of those teams that do have kind of potential to get into the top 6 if they have a decent season.
Let's move on to Livingston Aberdeen, Graham. And I was listening to David Martindale. I mean, you've got to love David Martindale because he talks Livingston up, but in the background, they might be a bit kind of annoyed because he said that he lost a lot of players. But I'm confident going into the new season. Is it a bit unfair of me to say that every season Livingston punches above their weight?
No, I think they do, but I don't think they will this season, if I'm being honest. I think they're going to be in the playoff for relegation.
Yeah.
They're struggling to bring players in. They've only signed 4 players, and if you listen to David Martindale, I like David Martindale. I think he's a really good guy. But, my God, because he sounded any more depressed than he has the last few days.
Yep.
His press conference the day when he talked about the fact that he talked to 6 players and he couldn't financially get them into Livingston. I mean, that's the problem. Livingston don't have a massive fan base. They don't have a massive support. It's very hard to attract players to Livingston. I've said it before on the show. It's a great wee ground, a real nice wee setup, but they just don't have a fan base, and that's always been an issue. And trying to attract players to Livingston is very difficult. And I honestly think this could be the season where Livingston are in real trouble. I think the last few seasons they've done well, and he's also said about the fact that it kind of sounds like he kind of wants Joe Nouble to leave, which is surprising. I can understand it because I think Nouble is a really good player, and I'm surprised that maybe other teams haven't come in for him yet. But I think maybe the money they might get off Nouble might help them bring more players in, but he just doesn't. This might sound harsh, but he sounds defeatist already before the season starts. That's the way that it sounded to me. He sounded very much like, do you know what, we might struggle this season, and I'm surprised because he's not that type of guy, but it just sounded defeatist to me.
Laurie, see, when we talk about Livingston, especially on the show of the week, and when Graham mentions about, because if you haven't watched David Martindale's press conference, he said he's been more worse than they did the last few seasons. But, like, see when Graham was saying about the fan base there, right? See when you put Livingston and Hamilton together, they're similar clubs, but Hamilton's got a bigger fan base than Livingston. In terms of not a massive fan base, because when you see Hamilton when you play at New Douglas Park or whatever they're calling it this season, I'm not sure. You always see more fans there than you do at Livingston, and that's why they struggle to buy players, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry for cutting across you there, Michael, but absolutely, and that applies to both Livy and to Accies. There's really not much between the two clubs. But I've not actually been to Ammanvale or the Tony Macaroni, whatever you want to call it. But the one thing when I did go to New Douglas Park, Kelly actually managed to outsell Hamilton Accies, which yes, Kelly have a good amount, but like back to the subject about as you were saying about attracting players. It can't help because players will maybe look at Livingston or maybe watch clips of Livingston and they'll think, is this game behind closed doors? And I'm talking about when fans are allowed, and I'm not talking pandemic season. I think in Livy it just never seems to have an atmosphere. And you were talking about how Kilmarnock and a few other clubs have been restricting the allocation of the Old Firm. I have a feeling at Livy, the Old Firm get free stands. I could be mistaken there, But I think the Old Firm get free stands at Livy. So yeah, and I've not heard David Martindale's press conferences this week, but whenever I have heard snippets of them, all he ever seems to talk about is the fact that Livy have the smallest budget in the league, or I'm sure I've even heard David Martindale say that they're a championship club playing in the Premiership. And I'm not saying he's right or wrong, but as Graham pointed out, it's just defeatist, isn't it?
The Paul Donaldson makes a brilliant comment in the chat. Don't forget, by the way, you can comment on everything what we're saying. Who do you think will win the league, and who do you think will go down this season? We would like to know. Well, we'll find out next May, but you can be Misket Meg or Septic Peg, as they say, as well. But Paul Donaldson makes a brilliant comment, Graham, about Aberdeen has sold out the away end for tomorrow's game. Good, it'll be good for us because it's going to be like a home game. And that's the point, because I was on not like me, but I was on another podcast last season, speaking to a Livingston fan, and I basically put the point to them that I wasn't using the word embarrassed, but like I was saying, well, when you play at home, do you not feel as though that you haven't got a lot of, you haven't got a lot of home fans? I mean, it's a brilliant wee stadium. I know you've been there as well, Graham. But like, do you feel as though when Livingston players run out for the warm up at 2:30 tomorrow and the kickoff at 3:30, it's going to be like more like an away game for Livingston than the home game?
Yeah, probably. I mean, that's the thing. I've spoken about this so many times about the fact that Livingston just do not have a fan base. I've seen quite a few times you go to Livingston and you've actually seen busloads of Celtic and Rangers fans that leaving from Livingston to go to Celtic Park at Ibrox. That's not great. That's not a good look at all. And I think the fact that Aberdeen are taking 4,000 of that game tomorrow, Aberdeen, we know, have got a really good fan base. You know, they are a passionate support. They're on a bit of a, they're on a high just now because of what happened last season, getting group stage football. So Aberdeen are going to take a massive crowd tomorrow. And it'll be a shame to see the away fans outnumber the home fans. But that happens at Livingston, that happens at St Johnstone all the time. But it will be like a home game for Aberdeen tomorrow. Paul's right. So I think for the Livingston player, it must be disappointing to run out there and think, I'm looking at the stadium and seeing basically most of this ground is all red Aberdeen fans. It's not a great look. I mean, if this game is on TV, and again, I talk about the fact that they're on, if this game's on TV and I'm an outsider, I'm thinking, oh, that's quite a good support. Then I'm thinking, wait a minute, that's the away fans. That's not good. The home fans should never be outnumbered at a home game. No chance. And it's not great. And I just think that David Martindale does talk a lot about finances and how, the fact that Livingston don't really attract a lot of finance, which is fine, but there's only so many times you can get away with that. Folks start to get bored listening to it. I'm sure they must get bored saying it. But I think tomorrow it's going to be a massive shame, because I just don't know. I would love to know how much a Livingston season ticket is, because they shouldn't have to get a season ticket. Just rock up and pay at the gate, because there's going to be no fans there anyway. It's pointless.
I think that's the kind of cynic in me, the joke. If any Livingston fans are watching, please don't take offence at what I was going to say. But when the government says teams are allowed to play in close scores because of COVID, I think Livingston was the only team that could be allowed to play with fans in, because they don't really get a full house in at Livingston. It's quite a bad job. Yeah, I know. So yeah, I just open my mouth and let my belly rumble, as they say, Graham. But yeah, I mean, David Martindale, we spoke about this many times on the show the last season. Do you think that he should be at a kind of, I don't want to say bigger club, because I've already used my first joke of the night, but do you think he should be at a team that the likes of Kilmarnock and Motherwell?
Yeah, absolutely. He definitely has deserved to be in the conversation for another club like that. But I mean, I'm sure David Martindale will say himself that he doesn't want to manage at a higher level, which is sad for him again. And he was quoted as saying something like, "If I was to leave Livingston, I'd be back on the building site the next day," which is admirable and showing that he cares so much about Livingston. But he is someone who you're probably looking at bigger club. And I remember when Jim Goodwin got sacked as Aberdeen manager, people were suggesting Martindale for that job. Obviously, they went for Barry Robson, and that's worked wonders for them. But David Martindale probably does deserve a quote-unquote bigger job in Livingston. But I think the question really is whether he wants to do that. And I don't think, from what we said in the past, I don't think he does. But he deserves an opportunity, yeah.
Okay, let's go on to talk about the Grimm's team. Hearts are away to St Johnstone tomorrow. And do you think Hart, again, talking about a big support, Hearts will take a big support there as well? I don't know if they've actually cut that away allocation at McDermott back, but do you think that Hearts are getting St Johnstone at the right time? Because obviously they had a horrible well, I was going to say pre-season, but yeah, it is pre-season when you play League Cup football, because it feels as though it's pre-season even though the season started. But do you think Hearts are getting St Johnstone at the right time?
I hope so. I really hope so. Yeah, they've been very poor in the League Cup and pre-season. They've not looked good at all. I think I said at the start of the show, they've only signed 2 players, Luke Jeffcott, a striker, and a goalkeeper. They've had a lot of injuries, no doubt about that, but I think appointing Stephen McLean was a massive risk. You know, he was a very good player, but no real experience as a manager. It was a massive risk, and I don't think I'll be far off with a prediction about he might be one of the first managers to go this season. And I think we have to be looking at this game tomorrow thinking this is 3 points. Our away record last season wasn't great. We only won 3 league away games all season last season. One of them was at St Johnstone, but our record wasn't great. So I've got to be hoping that we're going to go there and win tomorrow. So yeah, if we don't win tomorrow, then I'm going to start to panic about the season. If we can't beat a really poor St Johnstone side, then that's not a great start. But yeah, I mean, I'm confident the Hearts will go there tomorrow when we've got more than enough quality in that squad. We signed Frankie Kent, really good centre back from Peterborough. We signed Callum Newhall from midfielder. We brought in the laddie Tagawa from Japan. As I said earlier, we're looking to try and bring in Alex Lowry from Rangers, which is a surprise to me. I didn't know that was even a possibility. So we're looking a lot better now. You know, there has been a lot of, Laurie might talk about this in a minute, there has been a lot of stuff about the Stephen Naismith, Frankie McAvoy thing, and to be honest, if I wasn't a Hearts fan, I might have laughed at it myself, but it's all about results. If we get results, we win games. Nobody's going to care who's in charge. It certainly seems to me that Stephen Naismith will be the man in charge basically after European games, to be honest. But as long as we're winning games, I don't care who's in charge. But tomorrow is a massive, massive game. I'm confident we're going to win 2-0 tomorrow. I think we'll win. I think Lawrence Shankland again will hit over 20 goals this season. Although a few Hearts fans I've talked to said that Shankland looked a bit overweight the other weekends. I don't agree. I think he was fine. He looks in fine shape to me, but maybe I'm wrong. But I think Shankland will definitely score about 20 goals again this season, so I'm not worried. And I think Hearts could have a good season this season. I'm really pleased with what we've done in the window so far. If we bring a right back in and maybe another centre back, I'll be happy with that.
And obviously, you were watching the Hearts press conference today. What was said?
Well, Frankie McAvoy was doing it as he should be as the head coach, but he was talking very positively. You know, he was talking about the fact that they're positive about the start of the season. They're impressed with what they've done so far in the window, and it's about getting results. You know, he knows how big a club Hearts are. He knows we have to win games, and you know, I think I said to you before we came on the show, one of the first questions I got asked was about the dynamic between him and Stephen Naismith, which I get. It was going to be asked. Of course, it's going to be asked, but I think it could work. But if we don't win games, it's going to be an absolute disaster. But I'm positive about the season. Like again, I listen to a lot of Hearts podcasts, and most of them were very depressing. And they're saying we're going to have a poor season. I don't agree. I think we will. Maybe it's a bit like Laurie, my heart ruling my head here. I think we'll finish third. I think we've got a more than good enough squad. I'm confident. I'm genuinely confident, which means we're not going to finish third, because whenever I'm confident, things go wrong. But no, I'm relatively confident. I think we'll go there tomorrow and win. I said earlier on, the fixtures have fallen very well. We don't play Celtic and Rangers till October. We can have a really decent August and September and be right up there. So yeah, I'm relatively confident we'll do all right this season.
Laurie, there's one thing I forgot to warn you actually before you come on the show. I think this is your third show. So whenever Graham actually makes a bold prediction, it kind of blows up in his face. So there you go. I hope I'm right with that. Some of the Graham. But I think you would admit that as well.
I was going to say that for this show, are you the head coach and I'm the technical director, or what way is it working? Are you the technical director, or which way is it working?
I think I'm just a pie man, mate. Yeah, well, at least I'm honest. And I'm moving to Livingston next week, according to our new producer. So, as well, I should say at this point that we've got a new producer on the show this season.
Yes, it's not me.
Yeah, Graham has retired. But welcome to Nigel. He's behind the scenes. So he'll be pulling us up if we're not doing a good job, right? So that's me sorted out already. So as for St Johnstone, Laurie, what do you? Obviously, we spoke about Stephen McLean being the manager. What do you expect from them tomorrow in the game against Hearts?
Well, it's worrying times for St Johnstone. Let's be honest. As much as we all were take on what Hearts have done this summer with can I call it co-manager? Don't know, the whole head coach, technical director thing, but St Johnstone, as I said, have had a really poor League Cup. And by the looks of things, a really poor summer window as well. I mean, they lost something like 17 players. They've only brought in 2. So, I mean, clearly the squad need a rebuild. They've been flirting with relegation for a wee while. But the thing is, it's almost they've only done half the rebuild job. They'll get rid of the dead wood and not brought anything in apart from the goalkeeper and the striker.
Am I right in saying, Laurie, that this is the second season St Johnstone went out the group stages of the cup?
I think that might be right. I mean, I don't seem to remember St Johnstone doing particularly well in the cups after they've won a cup double. I feel like the cup double has almost cursed them, so that may well be.
Yeah, no. I seem to remember under Callum Davison as well. I think they, I don't know if they pick up any points at all that season as well. But I think you're right. I think that the cup double has cost them a wee bit, because up until then they were a decent team, but now the wheels just fell off a wee bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, they were. I'm sure even the year that they won that double, that was obviously a closed doors season. If memory serves me right, they were decent enough that season, but since then they've just been kind of in relegation trouble. And now obviously Callum Davison's been told to move on. Stephen McLean's came in, which, as I've said, is a huge risk. I mean, it's one of these ones you hope that it works, but you can just see it failing. I mean, it's one of these ones, and I can almost see St Johnstone getting rid of Stephen McLean early on and tempting Tommy Wright to come back. I don't know if that's just me, but I can kind of see that coming a mile off.
Yeah, that could be a good shout there, because Tommy Wright done a job, a decent job, and did he not win the Scottish Cup in the first season at St Johnstone?
I think he did. It was either his first or second season. Yeah, it was early on. He won that Scottish Cup. Yeah.
Yeah, and don't be surprised if Callum Davison comes back as his number 2, because was he not the number 2, Glenn, when Tommy Wright was there?
I think he was. I mean, it's honestly, it's crazy to think how far St Johnstone have fallen. It wasn't that long ago that Loris just mentioned there. They won 2 cups. They were also in European football. You know, it's mental to think how far they've fallen. And to be, listen, no disrespect to Stirling Albion, who were brilliant last week, but to lose 4-0 to Stirling Albion is an embarrassment. And I suppose my little worry tomorrow is that St Johnstone can't be as bad as that tomorrow. I'm hoping they are. But I just find that the appointment was really strange, appointing Stephen McLean. No real experience as a manager. It's a massive, massive risk. And I think already St Johnstone fans are getting a little bit concerned. As I say, they've only signed 2 players. We talk about the fact that it's difficult to attract players to Livingston. It's hard to attract players to St Johnstone as well. You know, they have let a lot of players go. They have a lot of injuries. But they really look a massive, massive concern. And if we go there tomorrow and turn them over, which I hope we will, I think Stephen McLean won't last very long.
No, I know exactly. So that's St Johnstone against Hearts. The other side of Edinburgh is playing on Sunday. Let's get to that game. Hibs against St Mirren, a very difficult game for Hibs. Just coming off the back of a European win last night. But do you still think it's embarrassing how? Obviously, I won't come to Graham now, but because I know Graham.
Oh no! Please do.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Your wishes, my command. Do you still think it's quite embarrassing how they get beat off a team from Andorra 2-1 in the first leg? And by the way, Hibs was outplayed in the first game.
Yes, and it was hilarious. It was so funny. But yeah, I mean, it was embarrassing. And let's be honest, David Marshall was awful. He was injured yesterday, which is a shame. But he looks a shadow of the goalkeeper he was. I did expect Hibs to win that game yesterday quite comfortably. It's not a massive surprise, but it's still one of the worst results in Scottish football history, I think, getting beat off an Andorran team last week. And if they were lucky it wasn't 3, because they had a couple of chances last week to make that worse. But yeah, it was an embarrassment. Let's be honest, it was a terrible result performance from Hibs. Yes, they turned it around yesterday, which I expected, but again, I don't think Lee Johnson will be there at the end of the season. I think he'll be gone. There was at least a couple of times last season he could have gone. What I will say is, I think the board have backed him this season. They've brought a lot of players in. They signed a striker for £700,000. I think it was Dylan Venti, I think it is. They signed Dylan Levitt from United, who got taken off last week and was on the bench yesterday. Not a great start to his career. They've kept Eli Yuan, he's a really good player as well. It can be frustrating at times, but I think they've also signed a 50-year-old striker in Adam Lafondra. Why they signed him out, God knows why. But yeah, I mean, I think, and again, they signed Will Fish, who Hibs fans seem to think is some kind of Franco Baresi. He's not that good. But yeah, I think, let's be honest, Hibs, I think, will struggle this season. I don't think they'll be competing with Hearts and Aberdeen for 3rd place, and that's not being biased. I just think, yes, they've signed a lot of players, but I don't see a lot of quality in there. I think Hibs will be around 5th for me. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. Last week was hilarious, and had they gone out last night, Lee Johnson would have been sacked last night. But I don't think it'll last the whole season.
I mean, Hibs had to come out, Laurie, and play well, and play not only to get a result, but to put on a good performance, because the first game was awful. But as I was saying to Graham, do you still think it's embarrassing how they get beaten the first leg, because they should have been dominating the 2 games?
Well, yeah, it's still kind of embarrassing, because if you were to ask a Hibs fan, what do they remember of their 2-legged tie against Inter? All they will remember is, really, despite winning 6-1 last night, all they'll think about is the first leg in Andorra, and that's always what will stick in the memory. And of course, through pretty much all of last season and even going into this campaign, the pressure has been on Lee Johnson, right the way through, and it's, I mean, and I don't really know if he's the man to take Hibs forward either. I mean, personally, I think he's one of the most interesting managers, in the league in terms of some of the comments he comes out with in press conferences and interviews. It was priceless. So for that reason, you hope he stays. But in terms of as a football manager, his days could be numbered if Hibs have a bad start to the season.
Yeah, he does come out with weird comments there, in the media, in his press conference. I noticed as well that, Hibs could be got beat 3-0 last season, but he can still come out with comments like, well, we dominated the game, and you're thinking, well, you've not been watching the same game as I've been watching.
I mean, they came out after the game last week and said to his fans, "Don't worry." Really? You've just been beaten up on Honduras and they're saying, "Don't worry." Are you serious? I mean, that didn't go down well. You look at the his fans' reaction, which I completely understand, because if that was Hearts, I'd be exactly the same. But yeah, some of the things he comes out with, I just think, are you on a different planet to everyone else here? I mean, there was at least 2 or 3 times. Remember the El Sakio thing with Aberdeen?
Yeah.
There was 2 or 3 times. There was 2 or 3 times last season that Lee Johnson could have got sacked, and he kept his job. I think this season he's under a lot of pressure. Like I said, he's been back to the hilt. They've signed a lot of players in the summer. They've got to settle in. They've got to gel. He's under a lot of pressure. They go out, I think home against St Mirren, first game of the season, difficult game because St Mirren were very good last season. And I think they'll be decent again this season. They've gone for St Mirren top 6 again this season. So that's a difficult game to start with. So I think he's under a lot of pressure. I really do. But I don't think Lee Johnson will be there at Christmas. I think he'll be gone.
And as for St Mirren, Laurie, they'll be hoping again to have a decent season and finish in the top 6.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for St Mirren, that was their first time in the top 6 since I think it was some point in the 1980s. So, I mean, well done to Stephen Robinson on that one. Of course, they've got, well, yeah, they have. I think they got through the League Cup group, didn't they? I had to think twice there.
Yeah.
So they've done a job there. However, if you actually think about it, last season they struggled in the League Cup. I think got knocked out of the group, but they went on to have a great season. So that's the back of the League Cup argument about being a distraction. But anyway, as for St Mirren, how I think they'll do, I think they'll be solid enough. I mean, Stephen Robinson is a decent enough manager. However, one thing I will say is if you look at the players they've brought in, it's pretty much all forwards, and I'm pretty sure Stephen Robinson is still trying to sign another striker as well. Seems to be very, very top heavy, but we'll see how it pans out for the Buddies.
Yeah, no, exactly. Okay, guys, it's time to predict the season. Obviously, at this time of the season, we get the crystal ball out and we think who's going to win the league and who's going to get relegated and all that. So we haven't got all the guys here tonight. But I will get them later on. But the guys I have here would be Mr. Duffy and Rory. And we're going to get your projections now for the season. So if I go for the youngest one first, I go for Rory.
Okay, so in terms of predictions, that's for winning the league. I think it's going to be Celtic. I think that Celtic team, as we've discussed throughout the show, are just too strong. I mean, Rangers appear to have recruited pretty well. I mean, just a little bit on now. Probably a better idea. By about this time tomorrow, actually, as to how well Rangers have actually done. But I think Celtic are just too strong. Plus, apart from Jota, they haven't really lost anything of note. Well, apart from Jota and I suppose Ange, they haven't really lost anyone of note. So I think Celtic are absolutely favourites. And And at the kind of other end of the spectrum, you probably know where this is going in terms of who's going to go down. If I were a betting man, which again, like you, Michael, I'm not, I would put my money on St Johnstone going down at this point. I mean, the signs just don't look good. League Cup, absolute shocker, and then recruitment just doesn't look very good at all. Inexperienced manager. It's got all the ingredients for relegation, it seems.
Okay, that's and it's a shame as well because when we were talking about St Johnstone won the double, and to be honest with you, you would think they would just kick on, but the opposite's happened as well. And you make a good point, Laurie, about St Johnstone won the double because maybe it's backfired them a wee bit. And as Glenn was saying as well, that did they not beat Galatasaray in the first game 1-0, and then the second leg, okay, they were going to be always up against it, but Guski win against Galatasaray 1-0, and then Guski have that full house at McDermott Park, and then after that the wheel just came off. I don't know what's happened, but yeah, okay, so. Grim, who do you think it's time for you to get in the hot seat, mate, and predict who's going to win the league and who's going to go down?
Very similar to Laurie. I'm going to say Celtic. I think they will still be very strong, and I think they will sign another couple of players as well. A lot of folk in the chat have talked about the fact that maybe they're a striker and another right back. I think they'll get them in. I think it will take time for Rangers players to gel and settle. So I just think, and especially with Brendan Rodgers, I mentioned earlier on about the fact he's got that winning mentality at Celtic. I just think Celtic will win the league again, but I do think it'll be very tight. And in terms of going down, yeah, I completely agree with Laurie. I think St Johnstone, they just look a very poor side. There's nothing about them that I think they're going to stay up. They just look a very poor side. Hopefully, Hearts win tomorrow, and I'll be much more settled after that. But yeah, for me, Celtic win the league and St Johnstone go down. I just don't see enough about the St Johnstone side. They've only signed 2 players. I don't see what else they're going to. They really need to bring in about 6 or 7 players, and I don't really see that happening. So St Johnstone are going down for me.
Okay, cool. And you're never going to believe this. Like, we've got a clean sweep on the show because I said to you before the show, Graham, it's going to be Celtic to win the league, and it's going to be tight this season, but Celtic's going to win the league. And before anybody says it, no, it won't come down to the 4 Old Firm games because that's just disrespectful to the other teams as well. I mean, look what happened to Rangers last season, went up to Aberdeen, played well in the first half, and Aberdeen beat them 3-0, was it? So that the other team that and St Johnstone to be relegated as well. So yeah, I wasn't going to say Ross County by with Ross Henry. No, but I just feel St Johnstone after the cup run that they had and an experienced manager as well. Okay, so Celtic to win the champions and St Johnstone to go down. That's a hat trick of the same teams. That's never happened before. Can it be 4 times if we ask our regular Ross County pundit? Check his podcast out, by the way. Done a fine job on the podcast. The County Corner, it's called, by the one and only presenter, Ross. Ross is a Ross County fan. So how are you, Ross?
I'm good, thank you, Michael. I appreciate you not predicting County to go down because obviously the last time you predicted County to go down was in the playoffs, and that obviously didn't end very well for you. So nice to see that you've kind of learned from that experience.
Yeah, nice to have you back on. Before we talk about the game, obviously we spoke about the game earlier on, but we'll go back over the Celtic Ross County game. What's your predictions of the season? Like, who's going to be the champions? And obviously you're going to say Ross County. And who's going to get relegated?
Yeah, I think it's obviously difficult to look past Celtic in terms of winning the league. I don't think there's any doubts about that. I think spent a lot of money again this summer. And yeah, I think it's difficult to look against them. I think in terms of going down, you guys were talking about there as well. I think a lot of eyes are obviously going to be on St Johnstone this season because of the League Cup campaign. But then saying that, St Mirren had a disastrous League Cup campaign last year and they finished in the top 6. So it's always difficult to tell. I think, I think St Johnstone are definitely the ones that have the most alarm bells going off around them. Livingston as well, perhaps. How will they cope? Obviously had a really bad second half of last season. Will that creep into the start of this season and beyond? So I think it's most likely to be one of those two. I think there's a lot of answers to be asked. A lot of answers to be found out about a lot of the teams in the bottom 6 this season, likes of how will Motherwell cope with no Kevin Van Veen. Ourselves, obviously, we've done a lot of business. St Johnstone, obviously, speaking about their League Cup campaign. Dundee, how will they settle into the league? Killie as well. How will their new recruits cope in terms of that sense? But I think the two that probably are the favourites, I would say, are St Johnstone and Livy.
So if I had to hold you against the wall, not that I would, coming from Glasgow and all that. I don't. Why did I say that for? I don't know. Who would you pick?
Just based on evidence that we've seen in the 4 games of the League Cup so far, I would say St Johnstone. It's 4 out of 4, isn't it? There's no.
Yeah, that's never happened before. Yeah. And by the way, I'm not going to hold you against the wall. I don't know what I said that for. I need my dinner. It's been a long week. Anyway, before I get the police involved, so that Graham, the first show back, right? I've managed to get upset I've got the police at my door and Livingston fans at my door as well. Wow, we've got another 35 weeks to go. Wow, this is going to be a fun season. Tomorrow's game, boss. What are you? Obviously, we spoke about Celtic heavily early on, and we touched on Malcolm Mackay as well. What are you expecting from Ross County? Well, first of all, what are you hoping for tomorrow?
My 3 trips to watch County play at Celtic Park have ended in an aggregate score of 14-0. So hopefully, nothing crazy added on to that total. I think it's the toughest task you can have going to, the champions of the league on their flag day, the first game of the season as well. So many eyes are going to be on it because it's on TV too. I think there's a lot I would say there's a sense of unknown as well, because the Celtic side under Brendan Rodgers, how will it change and how will it adapt from Ange Postecoglou's side from last year? There's not really that much difference between the styles, I would say. It's just like little tweaks here and there. So you can't even kind of go into the game with a basic knowledge of a setup that the squad might use to try and nullify Celtic's strengths, because you just don't know what the changes are going to be. So I think we've had a good League Cup campaign. Obviously, competitive games have been underway. It was a bit disappointing to not get the job done against Kelty Hearts last Saturday and go into the next round seeded, but it worked out for us in terms of the draw. But over the course of the 4 games, I think things have been pretty positive going forward, especially. Scored a lot of goals. Off the top of my head, I think it's 13 goals in League Cup over the 4 matches. And I understand it's against lower league opposition. So, the standards are going to go a bit higher when we go into the top flight football. But, if you're scoring goals, you've got strikers full of confidence, like Simon Murray grabbing 6 goals in those 4 games. You want that form to carry into the league. So hopefully it will. We've created a lot more chances as well than the ones we've just scored. We could have easily had, I don't know, maybe 18, 19 goals across those 4 games. So, yeah, I think I'm optimistic in terms of the season as a whole. going down to Celtic Park, I'm not saying for 1 second I'm expecting us to get a result down there. I don't think we'll get battered in that sense. I think we'll give them a good game and put a pretty good account of ourselves. I think a lot of folk maybe from the outside looking at Ross County, because of they were 20 minutes from relegation last season, might have them as their favourites to go down, and I understand that too. But I think with the signings that we've made, I think we'll have a decent season. And yeah, it's maybe best to get Celtic and Rangers out of the way in the first 3 weeks of the season, and then see where you build on from there against some of the teams of a similar level.
Ross, I kind of mentioned that earlier on before you came on. It might be a good thing that County's first game is Celtic getting them out of the way early on. But in terms of how you set up tomorrow, because I did mention this earlier as well, it's kind of a free hit. You can go to Celtic Park. Nobody's going to judge Ross County in the first game of the season against Celtic. So what are you expecting kind of a setup tomorrow? I think I said as well earlier on, I think signing Eamon Brophy again was a really good sign. I think you've done really well in the window. I think Scott Allardyce is a decent player. Kyle Turner's a decent player. So what are you kind of expecting from County in terms of how they set up tomorrow?
It's probably going to be a 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2 or a 5-4-1, I think is what we're going to be going with. We've seen the 3-5-2 over the couple of games in League Cup group stages. We've also gone with a 4-4-2 in the last 2 games of it. I don't think we'll go 4-4-2 away to Celtic. I'd be very surprised. But yeah, I think it was quite interesting. Malky spoke about it in the middle of the week, and he was asked that question as well. He was like, "Oh, a lot of people see it as a free hit," and he's like, "Aye, because they're saying that from the outside. You know, it's not their team going to Celtic Park on the opening day." And I'm thinking that because it's a tough place to go. I was there in 2019 when we got beat 6-0, and that could have been double figures that day quite comfortably. So you've got to have so many things go your way. You've got to catch Celtic on an off day. You've got to be an on day yourself. You've got to be tactically astute. Get the break of the ball where you can. Maybe, you know, a couple of decisions go your way that, you know, in other games they might not. There's so many factors to take down to these games. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good test, I think, to see where exactly we are in comparison to some of the teams we played. Like, so Morton gave us a really good test in the second game of the League Cup. They came up and were very physical, very good in the first half as well. So with no disrespect to the other teams that we've played, it's a totally different level when you're going away to Celtic. So I think that'll give us a good indication of where we are as a squad right now. I think Malky's spoken about if the right 1 or 2 players come up between now and the end of the window, he'll do his best to get them into the squad. I think that'll potentially be at least 1 centre half. I think we could still do with 1 centre half, if not 2, or perhaps a wide player. It depends what the budget or obviously the variations are there. But no, in terms of going to Celtic tomorrow, I think a 3-5-2 and or a 5-4-1 depends what way you look at with the wing backs and stuff, and just, you know, sit deep, try and flood the midfield, stop Celtic playing through you, and then, you know, an out ball, whether it be Simon Murray or a Jordan White up front, you know, to bring others into play, get your team up the pitch. You know, we've got good technical players in the middle of the park with like say Danda and Turner, as you mentioned there as well. So no, it's gonna be interesting. I think it's really interesting. And yeah, look, it's I'm making the trip tomorrow. I think it's going to be a 7:30 start from here to head down the road because of obviously everything that's going on in Glasgow this weekend to try and battle through the traffic and get parked up and stuff. So yeah, hopefully it's a fun trip down the road and an even happier trip back up the road.
See, in terms of mindset, like going into this season, you mentioned it earlier on, the fact that you were 20 minutes away from getting relegated, what's the mindset like this season? Is it a case of Malcolm Can, the players that are still there, have got to think, right, last season's done, we can't be in that position again? What is the mindset for this season after what happened last season? They've been so close to getting relegated.
The players spoke about that. They said that they know themselves they had a poor season last season and it wasn't up to the standards that they expect of themselves. I think a lot of moments during the season were very fine margins. I don't think there was at any point where we looked really, really miles off it. Likes of, Graham, yourself, when we went to Tynecastle that day and you guys put 6 past us, going into that match, we had the 3rd best defensive record in the league.
Mhm.
So, up until the split, that's very respectable for a team that was actually sitting bottom of the table at that point. So I think the expectations are to have a better season, to not find themselves in the position that they were in, whether it be a playoff in general or a relegation scrap. Never mind with 20 minutes to go, you're staring down the barrel of relegation. So I think every season they'll speak about get 10th and build on it. Anything 10th and above is a bonus. So I think that'll be the first message to the players. Then after that, I think with the right couple of recruits in the rest of the window, I have no reason to see why we couldn't be in the mix for a potential top 6 place. I think the margins between the rest of the bottom 6 are just so fine. And with looking at the other teams there, like I mentioned, Motherwell losing Van Veen, how are they going to replace his goals? How are Dundee going to settle into the top flight? St Mirren as well, how are they going to cope with a couple of different players coming in? Will Bacchus and Strain still be St Mirren players by the end of the window? If they're not, how do they replace them? And there's a lot of different factors there. So I think there's potential for this season to be successful, and not find ourselves in the position that we were in. I can't deal with that again. My heart can't take that. But no, I think the squad know that last season wasn't good enough. They've said it themselves. So the standards are to improve on that this season.
Before we move on to talk about the championship games, we've got 10 minutes left on the show. But would you rather go down to the game tomorrow and, okay, you're up against it, we all know that, but do you think that you would be more happy as a county fan if you actually have a go? I know that's going to be very difficult, or would you be happy in parking like 2 buses for 90 minutes? Because I've saw teams coming to Celtic Park in the past, i.e. Livingston and Hamilton back in the day, and they park the bus. But when they're 2-0 down, they come out, and you're thinking, well, it's a bit late for you to come out, because obviously you're not going to get anything out the game, never mind win the game. So would you rather County scats the game in the front foot and Skegga parking that bus, or am I being a bit kind of critical there?
It's an interesting point you raise, because I think tomorrow's slightly different because the players have got to manage the occasion, not just the match as well. It's not like they're just going to Celtic, obviously, on any other day of the season. It's Flag Day. It's going to be, Brendan Rodgers' homecoming as well, first game back in the league, so that, fans are going to be expecting a performance there. So, it's how the players manage that too. I think any team in the league, if you try and go toe-to-toe with Celtic, you will get torn apart, regardless if it's ourselves, as you mentioned there, Livingston, Hamilton in the past, or if it's one of the bigger teams, Rangers, Aberdeen, Hibs, Hearts. We've seen it. Like, if you could try and go toe-to-toe with them, they have got the players to really hurt you. And on an occasion like that, if you try and go toe-to-toe with them, you could be 3-0 down within 20 minutes. And then what? You're too late to park the bus then, and they still might go and score 2 or 3 after that. So it's a fine balance. It is, because you don't want confidence shattered either. You want to see your team go out and try and win a game, but at what cost? The 9-0 game against Dundee United last season, that shows what Celtic can do to teams. So it's tricky. I think it's almost like it's a lose-lose situation for teams going into these kind of games.
Okay, cool. Let's move on now to the championship, Rory. We're going to speak about tonight's game. The season actually begins tonight, not tomorrow at 12:30. Arbroath against Dundee United. What do you think about this game? Obviously, we were hoping to get Dave up there, but obviously maybe they've not got the Wi-Fi connection up in the old smoky town of Arbroath. So we're just going to speak about the game. What do you think about the game tonight? And are you going to fear for Dundee United this season?
I do have a bit of fear for Dundee United because they've not really started well at all. It just seems a bit disorganised, a bit of a mess from the outside looking in. But who knows? Maybe Jim Goodwin will turn it round. I don't really think he will. Although Louis Moult might be a decent addition at United, assuming he stays fit. I'm sure he had his injury issues kind of blighting his second spell at Motherwell in the first half of last season. So, and as for Arbroath, I'm not really sure what the kind of aim will be for them, because of course, a couple of years ago, they were very close to, winning the championship, albeit Kilmarnock did, due to beating them in the second last day of the season. But then last season, Arbroath almost, and this is critical, Arbroath almost reversed the type, being that kind of mid to bottom of the table side. But I'm not really sure what the aim is for Arbroath, because obviously they could be a surprise package, but Dundee United will still feel like they're favourites. But I guess by the end of the game tonight, we'll have a better idea of just what sort of shape Dundee United are in.
Paul Donaldson says, what's your thoughts on who will win the championship? I don't think it's a given that Dundee United will come back up, and maybe Packet Thistle or Inverness. Don't mention Packet Thistle to Ross. He's still getting nightmares about that, but nightmares in a good way, actually, Ross. Let's move on to speak about the other games very quickly, because we've only got a few minutes left. Dunfermline against Airdrie. Ross, what do you think about this game?
I think I'll have a bit of a close eye on it, and just Airdrie's results over the next couple of weeks as well, because we're playing them in the League Cup. Airdrie are right now riding a bit of a wave of momentum after winning the playoffs last season, coming into the league, going through the League Cup group stages unbeaten as well. And I think Dunfermline there's a couple of dark horses in the championship this season, and I think Dunfermline are not far away from being one of them. I think likes of Wraith Rovers and Partick Thistle and whatnot. I think Dundee United will be going into it as the favourites, but there's certainly outsiders there that will fancy their chances. So yeah, I think it's certainly an interesting game. I think Rhys McCabe's got Airdrie playing a lot of good football, beating some good teams already in the group stages, obviously Dundee and our Highland neighbours as well over the bridge. So no, I think it'll be interesting. I actually wouldn't be surprised if Airdrie come away with a win there.
And Morton and Ayr United tomorrow, Laura. I think I know what team you might want to win this game, but I'm going to ask you anyway, because I'm very polite that way.
Well, yes, of course. I mean, my heart would want Morton to win, and speaking, there's a few ex-Kelly players in their ranks, but Ayr United, to their credit, did really well last season, and again, they could be one of those championship dark horses. I'll be honest, I wouldn't mind them in the Premiership at all, as long as it wasn't at Kelly's expense. So I think that could be a good game between Morton and Ayr, and quite a tight one as well, because two teams that are probably kind of comparable, really.
And Inverness against Queen's Park, Graham.
Yeah, I would love to see Queen's Park going one step further than last season, but I just don't think they're going to be able to do it. I think it could be a difficult game tomorrow. Inverness at home, I think might have a bit too much. But to answer Paul's question from earlier, my tip to win the championship is Partick. I think they'll go one better this season. I think they'll be disappointed they didn't get up last season, but I think this season they will do it. And I think I'm intrigued to see how Dunfermline and Airdrie both do. It's, again, like most seasons, the championship is going to be a really interesting battle this season. I don't think United will come up. I think they'll finish about 4th or 5th. I don't have high hopes for them this season, but I think Partick, for me, will win the championship.
Okay, so the last game, sorry we've not getting the time to talk about this Packet Thistle Red Rovers, but Packet Thistle are playing fun enough Red Rovers. So that's the first show over, guys. It's been brilliant being back in the show tonight. Graham will be back on Sunday with a review of the weekend and looking over the Hibs and St Mirren game. Thanks to Ross and Laurie and Graham and the new producer for looking after things today. And we'll be back on Sunday at 3 o'clock here on Indie Live Radio and Independence Live. Have a good weekend.